All right, everybody, welcome to BO Boys for Friday, June 9th. Fuck it, it's a raw feed. We're doing it live. I'm Clayton.
Yeah, I'm Pat. Clayton, big weekend coming up. We've got the debut of the latest Transformers movie, Rise of the Beast. But the biggest beast in the business has risen with us tonight. Wanna BO intern Christopher is joined the show. So, Christopher, welcome back to the BO Boys. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me back, guys. I'm excited to talk BO, as always. It's always a great week when I get to be on the BO Boys.
So we're going to talk this Rise of the Beast, this new Transformers movie, and we're going to talk the second weekend of Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. But first, it is the end of the academic year. It is early June. Schools are closed. School's out for summer. Summer vacation is upon us. So let's take stock of this is the first full year, first full school year of your internship here at the BO Boys. So we'll do a little quick, I guess, dual review here. So first, you tell us, how has it been going? How has the internship gone so far? What have you learned from working at the BO Boys?
I've learned the inner workings of what it's like to be at the BO Boy headquarters, and I'd like to tell everyone it lives up. Whatever you've been dreaming up in your head, it definitely lives up to the hype. Great work environment there. I love working with the guys. Um, get into hear all these people like Scott Mendelson and Jeff Bach, and even now Kurt Menahan saying how great we are. It's just been a great experience, and I look forward to doing it through the next school year.
So
So, what do you guys have to say about me?
well, you're at the college, you're at a big frat school, a big party school, which is great. We want you to party, we want you to have a good time in between
Mm-hmm.
your internship work. So now that everyone knows that Kirk Menahan is a huge BO Boys fan, the lawyers are working on getting him on the show soon. But the fact that a star at Barstool is a BO Boys fan and is plugging the show, I would imagine now that is sweeping through the college scene, right? I mean, I'm sure you are Stooley, all your friends are Stoolies. Where do you see this just being a gigantic, big piece of news throughout the colleges that now Barstool is into the BO Boys?
Oh, 100%. I don't think you will talk to anyone in my age group that doesn't know what Barstool is. So getting a mention on there is going to be huge for the show. Everyone wait. We're only getting bigger and better after that. There's no way. There's only up from here.
That's awesome. So you're ground zero at the frat party. So fan those flames, spread the word. So yeah, now it is time to review you to give you your end of year academic report. I mean, we'll start with Professor Clayton here. Clayton, how do you think this young man has done so far? He started in the fall semester. Basically, he's been here for the fall and spring semesters. Been here through Avatar Way of Water, been here through the Shazam fiascos and the Quantum Mania fiascos and the Renfields, but also through the Super Mario Brothers. So, he's had quite an academic year. How do you think wannabe intern Christopher has fared so far?
I mean, I think he's done great. I mean, the social media feed, it has been great. The clips have been great. I mean, I think that, it takes a lot to keep this machine running, and you are the grease, my friend.
Yeah, he is the grease. So that is the first thing on your report card is you are the grease. I think that is something as you head out into the working world in the next couple of years and you're putting your resume together. I am grease is
Mm-hmm.
something I think you could put on there. Quote from BO Boy Clayton, I am the grease.
Well,
So
and
I think
also,
that's one of the. Yeah, that's such high praise. I don't think I can. It can't get any better than that.
yeah.
I also think, I mean, and with this episode, I mean, you're a touchstone into the youth of America. You have your finger on the pulse. It's very important for us to know what the kids are watching because we are not in that age group. You are in the prime demo. And that is also a great asset to have is somebody who we can just shoot ideas to and be like, hey, are the kids into this? Will the kids watch this? I mean, this movie, especially that we're going to get to, Rise of the Beast, not Rise of the Beast, which Pat keeps saying like it's some sort of devil movie. It is the Beasts, not Rise of the Beast.
So it's
That is,
multiple Satans
it's
in
not
this
about
Transformer.
Satan's. This is
No.
about Transformers that turn into animals, if you can believe it. What will they come up with next? But this type of thing,
So it's
these
not
sort of
like Transfiguration, it's Transformers.
yes, absolutely. So
Okay.
Mhm.
it's this sort of thing that especially someone like Pat, who was very low on the Across the Spider-Verse movie, which I was high on. Um,
So was
n-
I.
yes, thank you. You were needs young people like me and yourself to keep him abreast of what is going on the college campuses.
So here's to continue on your report card. Here's something else I think you've done a great job of. Wannabe intern Christopher is on these
Mhm.
social media clips. I would say you have been very fair in depicting what happens on this show. Because and this is going to be something as you head out to the working world is going to be very important. Is to the people who are above you, you've got to make them all think that you're on their side. And I think you've done a good job of that in balancing the back and forth between Clayton and myself. Is each of us always feel that wannabe intern Christopher is on our side when he's picking these excerpts. When you go back and forth 1 week, it'll seem like you're, a pro Clayton. 1 week, you'll seem like you're pro Pat. So at the end of the day, we always think like, okay, he likes me better. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that's a very important skill that you need to have as you go out to the working world is you got to make everyone else who's above you think that you're on their side until you could finally surpass them, step on them, crush them, and
Mm-hmm.
move on. And I think you've done a good job of that in the way you clip the show for social media.
Thank you.
Yeah. So good job playing us against one another. I think
Uh, uh,
you've done that very well.
but with that, who is your actual favorite?
I can't say. You can't do that to me right now.
So he passed
Great.
the test.
He
He
passed the
passed the
test. He
test.
passed the test
That was
because
such a
if he
test.
if you picked one, we both would have turned on you. So
Mm-hmm.
Oh
Absolutely.
well, okay,
Didn't
good.
matter. Didn't matter who.
yeah, it didn't matter who you picked. We both would have turned on you. So great job. Yeah, you're doing an excellent job. And as the show gets bigger and your role gets bigger, I think you're gonna be going out to the working world soon, being able to pick and choose exactly what you want to do
Mm-hmm.
because of the success of the BO boys. And just a little tease before we get into the weekend preview. There was a very special internship project that wannabe intern Christopher was in charge of, something called BO Court. And that will be dropping on the BO Boys YouTube channel within the next few days. It is going to happen. It's a lot. Listen, when it drops on there, it's one of those, it was a pilot that was made several months ago. And so just know that when it goes on there, it may seem like, oh, why are they talking about stuff that happened a while ago? It's something we did a few months ago. Wannabe a intern Christopher conceived it, edited it. It's going to be exclusively not on the podcast feed, on the BO Boys YouTube channel. So look for that. So great job on that, Wannabe intern Christopher. It will be dropping any day now. Very exciting.
Sounds good.
All
Can't
right.
wait.
Let's get into the business of the day, which is previewing the Transformers, right? Several Transformers, Rise of the Beasts. Several
Yes.
beasts.
Several
Great.
Mhm.
beasts.
So this is the latest film in this franchise. It is the second straight Transformers film to not be directed by Michael Bay. Of course, there was a 2018 Bumblebee movie starring John Cena that was always meant to be, I guess, a little bit of a smaller movie, even though I would say that sort of underperformed. It ended up at 127 at the domestic box office, 460 worldwide. Did okay. But this Transformers Rise of the Beasts was supposed to be a return to form, to the heyday of the Michael Bay series, those movies in the 2010s did Bafa Bobo. You had two of them made over $1 billion. The first one made over 800 million. And then last night was the one that sort of was the downturn of the franchise, made 130 domestic, 600 million worldwide. So this one, when it was greenlit, was supposed to be all right, back to Transformers being a gigantic, top three of the summer franchise. And guys, it does not feel like that is going to be the case. It feels like this Transformers Rise of the Beasts is going to be not Michael Bay level at all. So, how are we feeling going into this opening weekend? I'll go to wannabe Owen turn Christopher first. Give us what's the word on the college campus? Are people excited? Are youngsters excited for this new Transformers movie, or has this franchise, not clawed its way back to the top?
I think it's very in the middle. I've had some early on. I don't think anyone really wanted to see it. I remember I had one friend. I remember texting me saying the CGI in like the first trailer did not look very good, and he was not interested in the movie at all. But I think as it's gotten closer to release, it has picked up a little steam. But especially with a movie I bet we're going to talk about later, Across the Spider-Verse, that has just sucked up so much air out of the room. I think this Transformers movie is going to get lost in the shuffle this summer.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely feels like Lost in the Shuffle is the way to describe this whole Transformers movie. Clayton, what about you? Speaking from our generation, the one that should be nostalgic for Transformers, I feel like that fueled a lot of the Michael Bay 2010s Transformers, was that 80s and 90s nostalgia. Uh, I don't feel like that's the case with the demo that would have been kids of 80s Transformers. I don't feel like our generation is particularly excited about this, but am I wrong? Are old people excited? You tell us about the
No.
old people, Clayton.
Yeah, good. Take a nice little shot at me there. But I will say that I don't think the generation who watched those original Michael Bay movies are interested in this. I think this is catering to and courting a younger generation who grew up with the cartoon series Beast Wars. That is what this is based on. Beast Wars, which is a cartoon series that was in the 90s. It's for all the 90s kids. And we were already in high school. We were already driving cars. We were already, watching adult television shows like Dawson's Creek and all those sort of shows, right? We were watching those. I mean, we were watching that sort of stuff while the
Varsity
kids.
Blues.
Varsity, well, yeah, that's a movie. We're watching Varsity Blues. We were watching that sort of stuff, not the kids' cartoons.
Mm-hmm.
And so that I think is where this is going to live and die. How many people are nostalgic for that cartoon, for that sort of, hey, these Transformers are actually animals, right? I don't know much about that. So I don't know if that's really going to bring people in. The other problem with this movie, right, and makes it such a question mark is there's no stars in it. The first Transformers, Shia LaBeouf, right? Guy who was hot. He was off of a pretty big hit. I believe Disturbio came out before Transformers, and that was a pretty big hit for him. Megan Fox was not a big star before the first one, but she became a star. So those movies had stars. Mark Wahlberg came in later on in the franchise. This movie does not have any.
Kelsey Grammer got brought in at one point.
Absolutely, Fraser himself. This movie has no stars, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that I think is a huge issue because you want to root for the humans along with the robots. And I don't see that here. I don't see somebody who's like, if you would have gotten Haley Stanfield or she was in Bumblebee.
Yes.
And I don't know what I wouldn't really call her a star, but she definitely was a known quantity in a way, right? So obviously she she hasn't really taken off as a movie star. It's been very difficult for anybody to take off as a movie star. But I feel like if you had somebody who was hot, somebody who was up and coming as the lead in this movie, then you would have something here. That would bring in the casuals. That would bring in other people other than the Beast War fanatics and whoever's left over from the old generation who still gives a shit about Star Wars.
Well, the star of this, the human star, is Anthony Ramos, who, was the lead in Into the Heights, which did not click back in the summer of 2021. Maybe when he was signed up to star in this movie, they may have been hoping that was going to break him as a movie star, and that did not happen. So yeah, there is no human that I think matters in terms of getting anyone to the theater. That is definitely true. The director of this movie, Stephen Caple Jr., is not someone who I have ever heard. Oh, well, he actually,
He
okay, I take this
directed
back.
Creed
He
2.
directed Creed 2. But I
Okay.
feel like here's
Okay.
the thing with that is he directed Creed 2, but I think most people just assume Ryan Coogler directed Creed 2.
That yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah,
I,
100%.
and I'm not saying that because I didn't know he directed Creed 2. I do think there is that perception that Coogler directed both the first two Creed movies, and then Michael B. Jordan directed the
Yep.
third one.
Absolutely.
So I think this guy gets credit for that in Hollywood, but I don't think he gets any notoriety from it from the general public. No one cares that this is a Stephen Kapler Jr. film in the way that people did care that Michael Bay
Michael
directed
Bay.
those other. Michael
Mhm.
Bay was a drawing card to those Transformers movies, and I think with
Yeah.
Bumblebee and now with this, we are going to see just how true that was. That those were not just people wanting to see Transformers movies; they were people wanting to see Michael Bay's Transformers movies.
Yep. You had a director that was a star and you had actors that was a star. Like if you had, and I know she can't be everywhere, right? But just for example, Jenny Ortega. If you have Jenny Ortega as the lead in this, then you've got something, right? Or if you get someone like, I don't know, Logan Paul. You got Logan Paul with the Transformers. That brings people in. But there's no star power here other than the robots, which we've seen a million times. And yes, there's a gorilla one. But is that enough? Is that a special enough sauce
Right.
to bring people in?
Well, Wannabe intern Christopher, this Transformers movie makes a change from they transform into cars into they transform into animals. Our young people, the males in that 18 to 25 demo, that Barstool demo, are they more into gorillas than they are into fast cars and big trucks? Because that may be the case. I feel like young people in Clayton and I's generation, they were into trucks and they were into cars, but has the young male segued into being more into robots that would turn into gorillas?
No, like Clayton said before, this was more of a 90s cartoon, so I think this just missed us. And my age group actually grew up with the Michael Bay films, so that's our connection to Transformers, so we're probably still more of a trucks and cars type of people than any sort of animals.
Wow. So that is so true that the young males or females or people
People.
of
People.
today, they would be nostalgic for the 2010s Transformers movies, which are about robots that turns into trucks. So
Yeah, the first one
this
came out in 2007, so yeah, it was relatively early for us.
wow, that's right. So if you are 18 now, that was 16 years ago. Oh, you were a child. Children
Yeah.
who are in college, people who are in college now, when they were kids, they grew up with the Michael Bay Transformers movies. So this is really nostalgic for people in their 30s, 40s.
Yeah. So Beast
Yeah.
Wars then would be for millennials, younger to middle aged millennials.
Yeah.
You
which
know,
is
like people in their mid 30s, right? We're a little bit. I mean, Gen X, so I'm older. You're a millennial, Pat, but uh,
I'm young Gen X.
and I'm young Gen X, you are a millennial. But anyway, here's the thing that I was thinking about when you were mentioning that was a perfect point there, Christopher, when you said that the nostalgia is not for the cartoons for people your age. The nostalgia is for Michael Bay movies, right? And that's
Mhm.
maybe why they're trying to make this look more like a Michael Bay movie. But 2007, like 2000s nostalgia is happening right now. I know there's like a big movement, even like in music, where people are really into what's called indie sleaze, which is music that was from the mid 2000s to the mid, well, probably like 2012, right? 2013. That is where these movies live, in that
Hmm.
sort of nostalgia zone. So, is that nostalgia going to cross over to these movies, or is it specifically for a music genre and a way of dressing that is now popular again? Right. So there's a possibility that these Transformers fit into that nostalgia frame that is being hot right now.
Okay.
I don't know if that's the case, because you gotta, if it's a Michael Bay movie, then that makes a difference. If Michael Bay is like, I'm back, baby, I'm doing this, then those people might go. But I just don't see anything to bring people to the yard here.
Right.
Now, maybe in a few years, you really got to let this die for like 10 years and then do one. Then maybe you're going to do the Scream 5 situation as opposed to the Scream 4 situation, which is what these feel like. A little
Mm,
bit too early for nostalgia for these kids. You
right.
know what I
Right.
mean?
Mhm.
The thing though is, they try to go a little lower budget with Bumblebee,
Uh-huh.
but unlike a Scream series, these Transformers movies cannot be made unless they cost a gigantic sum of money, because they
Yeah.
are about robots that are the size of buildings that could
Mhm.
transform into gorillas and into trucks. So that costs money. So making these necessitate that they have to be among the biggest movies of the year to be worthwhile. And I don't know if Transformers is going to hold that place in the movie landscape the way that they did in the 2010. So I'll throw out something I heard on another podcast earlier this week. I was listening to The New Flesh, hosted by
Oh.
friend of the show,
Oh.
Brett, our horror correspondent, great man, hashtag horror
Tag horror
lifestyle.
lifestyle.
And he and his partner Jesse were talking about the upcoming Transformers movie, and Jesse, the co-host of The New Flesh, made a great point that I'd want to share here, is that the Transformers movie's downturn sort of coincided with the MCU going into that extra gear. Because I'm looking at side by side the Transformers franchise history and the MCU franchise history, and 2014, you had Transformers Age of Extinction. The last big mega hit in the series made 1.1 billion worldwide, opened 100 million domestic. That was 2014. Then 2017, you get The Last Night, which opened to 44 million opening weekend, only 130
Oofa.
domestic, only 600 worldwide. So that is from 2014 to 2017. That is where the downturn happens. And if you look at Marvel in that 2014 to 2017 period, that's where Captain America and Winter Soldier comes out. Huge turning point. Guardians of the Galaxy, Avengers 2, Ant-Man, Captain America Civil War, Doctor Strange, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Those are all released in
Mm.
between those two Transformers movies. So I think Jesse of the New Flesh makes a great point in that Marvel really pushed Transformers down the ladder, and
Mhm.
Transformers is just so much less special than it was when Michael Bay started the series. And listen, comic book movies are not what they were, or at least the MCU is not what it was, a couple of years ago. But I do think these Transformers movies just feel lower rent, lower stakes now, and I don't
Mhm.
think the reboot now is really going to change that.
Yeah, and actually, Pat, to add on to that, Scott Mendelssohn's brought that up too, because that happened for a bunch of franchises in 2016. That's when Star Trek, the latest Star Trek, came out and kind of bombed.
Mm,
That's what happened with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles because they had their sequel, their movie before that came out in 2014. It's because during that period, that's when comic book movies started to encapsulate not just the superhero genre, but also other genres like comedies and stuff like that. Like you could go to a comedy for Guardians of the Galaxy, you could
mm.
go to a thriller for Captain America: The Winter Soldier, while also seeing a superhero movie. And that's exact. Scott Mendelssohn's also pointing that out too.
Great. So that's the confirmation that we needed
Yeah.
on that point. It's great that Jesse of the New Flesh brought this up, but Scott Mendelson confirming it makes it true. I mean, I think what we're seeing too is a lot of those franchises and IPs that got just trampled by the rise of the MCU. I don't know if they'll be able to make a comeback, but what we've seen is there are new IPs that are able to start and be successful now, including John Wick,
Mhm.
Sonic, Super Mario Brothers. These are franchises that have started, in the midst of the decline of the MCU. So they're not
Yeah.
affected by it. They're able
Mhm.
to stand out as being special. But something like Transformers has that sort of stink of a loser. It stinks of an IP that has already been trampled by the MCU, and it's hard to make a comeback right now.
And I think we've mentioned this previously, and we'll mention this throughout the whole summer because it feels like a watershed summer. It feels like a changing of the tide, right?
Yep.
It
Mhm.
feels like these things, like you said, that used to be slam doinks are
Hmm.
now failing, right?
Hmm.
MCU Guardians is doing great now. It's holding on. I mean, look, I mean, it's beating out Fast X, but that movie is probably not only the last great Marvel movie, it's probably the last good Marvel movie, if we're being honest, if you're looking at what's coming forward after that, right? So MCU is basically on the decline. That is 100% a fact. Like we said, Fast, it's losing steam. It's pretty much over for them. Pixar, Elemental, bad reviews, bad tracking. Pixar is washed at the box office. It is Disney Plus all the way now. Transformers, while it has already lost a lot of its glamour and a lot of its shimmer already, this is the last gasp for this franchise. And there's
Hmm.
nothing that makes me feel like it's not going to be just another old franchise that gets washed away with the tide here.
Mm.
This movie is,
Hmm.
I think,
Mhm.
going to fail. And you're not going to see a Transformers movie again for a long time if they're smart, because Bumblebee did nothing to make people more interested in this. And if these Beast War kids don't come out for this thing, they're done. It's over.
Actually, they have an animated Transformers movie coming out next summer, also in June.
Wow.
Well, I mean, that's going to do some Turtle Mutant Mania bullshit numbers.
I mean,
That's going to do
listen,
Star
Clayton and
Wars,
I, Clayton and I
Clone
are
Wars bullshit.
Clayton and I are on opposite sides of the Turtles Mutant Mania debate, which is coming. I mean, that is something to stick with the BO boys for, because later this summer it will be an all-out blowout when Clayton and I are debating this animated Turtles movie. Listen,
If they survive, if our
adult anime,
listeners
ad,
survive our
ad,
Barbie wars, then they will be traumatized when the Mutant Mayhem War happens. It's going to be successive battles.
but let's get into Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, adult animation,
Spider-Man
taking
cartoon.
a IP that people previously knew as live action and turning into animation and having the movie do as big or bigger box office than the live action versions did. That is something that happened last weekend that I did not think was possible, but it happened. So now when we look ahead at this Turtles animated film, and we look ahead at this Transformers film, which was just announced by wannabe O intern Christopher live on the BO Boys. Maybe those are the way to go. I mean, look at the Super Mario Brothers movie. Previously a live action film that did nothing, went into animation is maybe going to be the biggest movie of the entire year. So that may be the trend, is to take these previously live action franchises and go animated with them, and you could make more money than the live action version did.
Yeah,
So
I
we'll
mean, I
see.
agree. Listen, Pat, I've said it, and listen, I do think the future is adult animation. We're seeing this.
You
What
said
I'm
it
s
about Harry Potter many years ago. You did.
yeah, 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 of course, and that'll come to pass. That will come to pass. Warner's, if they're smart, that will come to pass.
Hmm.
The thing with the Mutant Mayhem, the Turtles movie, is that it doesn't have the innovation. It doesn't have the storytelling. It doesn't have the things that
Well, you
are
haven't seen
making
it. You're
Pat,
quick to judge.
Pat,
You're quick to judge. You have not seen
this
the film. You have
this
not seen the
Spider-Man
film.
movie,
You have not seen the film.
is a league of its own. We are talking about a groundbreaking cartoon that is emotional, and it's artistic in a way that cartoons aren't, right?
And
Now,
maybe the Turtles Mutant Mayhem will
it
be the same thing. We
it
don't know. We
definitely
have
looks
not seen the
cool. Like,
film.
it looks like it has an interesting animation style, but I don't know if you can compare it to Across the Spider-Verse right now. I do think
You
this thing is
can't
a
compare right
phenomenon.
now because we've seen one movie and we haven't seen
Okay.
the other movie, so you
All right.
can't
Well,
compare them.
let's argue when this actually comes out. But what I'm saying is, yes, cartoons are the way of the future. But are we going to have a situation like this Spider-Man movie 2 months from now? No, I don't think so. I think this is a special movie, is what I'm saying. Across the Spider-Verse is a special movie.
So
Well, it also had all the goodwill built up from the first film. I think that's the
right.
key
Yes.
aspect to why this did so amazing that no one thought it could, other than me and
Right.
Clayton, of course.
Thank
The
you.
other thing about this Transformers movie, when you talk about goodwill, is that, listen, we're not critics, huh? Critics
Huh?
aren't
Huh?
everything, huh? And
Huh?
obviously, a
Huh?
Transformers movie is not going to live and die with critics, but this movie could have used the help of having really good reviews and having that advocacy, and that is not happening. I mean, this
Mhm.
Transformers movie is at like 60% Rotten Tomato, which is not terrible, but it's not helpful in any way. There's
Mhm.
no, people aren't, because people are going to be on the fence naturally about this movie. It's a Transformers movie, two of them in a row have either bombed or underperformed. There's no stars. This could have used some great reviews to get it over the hump, and that didn't happen in the way that the great reviews obviously help Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. So, I mean, wannabe Owen turned Christopher, would reviews affect the frat boy set, the Stoolies set, the college guys? Would good reviews have helped this movie, or does not really matter?
I don't think people go to, especially college frat guys, do not go to Transformers movies for the good reviews. They definitely go to see big robots fight and make big explosions.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I mean, the thing is, this is also a tough movie to sell now compared to the 2010s, because the 2010s Transformers, you could sell the sort of Michael Bay action sleaziness. You could sell Megan Fox bending over the hood of a Transformer, which we're not going to say whether that's good or bad, huh? But it's definitely something you
Huh.
could sell in 2011 that you can't
Yeah.
sell in 2023. So these Transformers movies are sort of a man without a country. It's a movie about ass kicking robots, but is ass kicking robots something that is even very marketable right now? I don't know. I mean, look at the Fast franchise. It's obviously on the decline from age, but also because that type of movie might not be super in favor right now.
Mhm.
Um, we haven't gotten your thoughts on that, wannabe Owen and Christopher. What are your thoughts on the performance of Fast X and the viability of that franchise in general? Do you agree with Clayton and I that they really need to just make one more movie and get out?
Yeah, I think the Dwayne Johnson movie is a very stupid idea. I don't know who greenlit that. You need the finale bump, just get out. I mean, obviously, this is always more of a worldwide play, but even that seems to be slightly on the decline. You can't keep doing this anymore. And Vin Diesel's been talking about he wants to do spin offs after this main continuity ends. And I really don't know what he expects the BO to be with those things. But I don't think those movies will perform too well if they ever get made.
What is the status of the fandom of Dwayne the Rock Johnson on college campuses right now? You know, obviously, when Clayton and I were in high school and college, he was the Rock. He was the biggest thing in wrestling. He transitioned to a movie star. Has been a pretty steady giant movie star for the last, you know, I would say 10 to 15 years. He's just been at a real peak. And it feels like the last year or two that's been on decline. How do, you know, 18 to 25-year-old college guys, college girls, college people
People.
feel about Dwayne the Rock Johnson right now?
I honestly don't think his image has changed too much unless you were always online. I don't think any of the Black Adam or Shazam stuff really even crossed your feed at all, or you even thought about it. So I think Dwayne Johnson is still The Rock and is still one of the top dogs in Hollywood for sure for most people.
All right. Well, good to hear. That's
Oh,
good for him.
interesting. Even
Yeah.
after listening to our show and understanding how foolish he looks, it's surprising to
Yeah,
me. It's
yeah,
surprising
I
that
know.
he's,
You would
you know,
think. Hmm.
But remember, we're now sweeping college campuses right now in a
Yeah,
way
now
that
that we have the
hadn't
bar
fully.
school,
Yep.
yeah,
seal
now
of
I think they'll
approval.
listen to us. Yeah.
Yeah. So that things could change for The Rock unless he changes what the BO boys are saying about him. You know, he could make a
Hmm.
big move. He could, much like Kirk Minahan did, he could reach out and say something nice about the BO boys and maybe come on the show, and then maybe that changes the way the BO boys are talking about him on the show. You know, so that might
Now,
be a move he needs to make if he wants to keep his college fans.
Christopher, before we give our numbers,
Hmm.
Hmm.
the Spider-Man movie, Across the Spider-Verse. Now, there must be buzz on campus about this, right? I mean, this
Oh
is a
yeah,
huge
yeah.
hit. People are
Hmm.
excited about it. You know, boyfriends are taking their girlfriends, girlfriends are taking their boyfriends, partners are taking their partners to see this movie. So, do you see any feasible universe where this Transformers movie, this washed up franchise, somehow beats the second weekend of a legitimate phenomenon?
No, because I think Spider-Verse would have to drop over 50% for Transformers to even think about touching it, and I don't think Spider-Verse is going to do that. So I
Yeah.
think there's no way that's even possible.
All right.
Now,
So,
there is a loss of PLFs here, though,
mm,
for Spider-Verse, which, again, more PLFs. If we have to say it every episode, we
Yeah.
will. More PLFs. It is insane
yeah,
that you are not able to see Across the Spider-Verse in IMAX for however many times you want. That's a $25 to $28 ticket that is just getting thrown out the window
yeah.
because we have too many theaters that have shitty sound, shitty seats, shitty lighting, all that, right?
Why are there any theaters that still have cloth seats in
Uh,
this day and age?
why can you not recline in every seat in every theater in America?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. There
Have you
should
guys
be
see?
an IMAX in every third theater in America.
Yeah,
In
and that's
America.
being yeah, and I think that's being conservative, Pat. You're being conservative, and we can start slow, which I like that you're starting realistically.
I'm starting realistically. I mean, of course, there should be an IMAX in every theater in
Yeah,
America.
absolutely.
Yes, yes, 100%.
But I like where you're going with how you because you can't, Rome wasn't built in a day, as they say.
Right, right, right. That is what they say. Yeah, it is crazy that after the incredible performance last weekend, the overperformance, that it was such an out of control over performance that even I didn't predict it correctly. That
Mm-hmm.
Spider-Man Across the
Hmm.
Spider-Verse is going to lose any IMAX screens this weekend. You know, a record performance like that even leaves me incorrect should mean that it should keep every single IMAX, every single PLF, every single Dolby surround sound theater that it had last weekend. And Transformers should be getting those type of theaters because there's just enough to go around.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So it is a disgrace, but it is going to affect Spider-Man's grosses this weekend because Transformers legally does have to get a certain number of IMAXs and PLFs.
Yeah, and I
And
don't want to make it seem like Spider-Verse is not going to get any. It's just
no,
it's not going to
no,
be enough. It's not
it's
going to
not
be
going to be
enough.
enough to
Yeah.
satiate the demand. No.
Yeah.
So here, let's get into our predictions for this weekend. But then after we do that, I do have one other movie down the road that I want to ask Christopher about. But let's
Okay.
get into our predictions for this weekend, the weekend of Friday, June 9th, 2023. So, you know what? I'll go first.
All right.
I'll take the bullet
Okay.
here. I wonder if we're all going to agree on this, but I'm going number one. Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse is going to finish number one, which is just, man, it is tough. There's no way Paramount, when they dated Transformers: Rise of the Beasts, that they thought this movie would not open number one for the
Oh, yeah.
weekend. This is a nightmare scenario. But I think Spider-Man's going to open number one, and it made 120 last weekend. So yeah, it's going to make probably high 50s, $58 million. It'll
Mhm.
drop a little over 50%. Number two, Transformers. I'm going pretty low on this. I think $45 million for second place.
Yeah.
I think this is going to be rough. Little Mermaid made 41 million last weekend. I think it'll drop less than 50%. So I think this movie finishes like around 24 million, maybe 25 million for number three. Number four is going to be Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 is
Mhm.
going to jump over the Boogeyman. And I think the Boogeyman, though, is going to be number five and finish ahead of Fast X. Fast X is just dropping. So I think that'll drop out of the top five.
Yeah, I think with
Yeah.
the people who are going to go see Transformers: Rise of the Beast, that is a Venn diagram with Fast X. Like
Yeah.
Oh,
that is
100%.
definitely
Yeah.
that's definitely going to eat into Fast X. Anybody who'd be at all interested in that
Yeah.
movie.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's really bad for Fast X.
Yeah. So,
Christopher, do you want to go next since you are our guest? I know Pat
yeah.
just jumped in to go first when normally we allow our guests to go first, but
well,
you
I
know.
took the bullet. I took the bullet.
He
Yeah,
took
sure,
the
you took
ball.
the
He
bullet.
took. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I did call it
Yeah.
taking the bullet. I said that
Yeah.
on
I didn't
top.
see
You
any
did.
bullets fired, but that's all right. Maybe I was taking a sip of water. Who knows?
Yeah, but yeah, of course, obviously, first Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. I'm gonna go a little higher than Pat. I think it makes 60, maybe $65 million. I think it drops a
Love it.
little less than
Wow.
50%. But I
Wow.
do agree with him. Transformers number two, right on the money. $45 million. Number three, Little Mermaid. I'm thinking $25 million. So I agree with that. Where we do change though is I think Boogeyman is going to stay ahead of Guardians all week. It has been tracking. It has been doing
Huh.
numbers slightly better than Guardians. I think there's horror hounds out there. There's no other horror movies right now. So I
True.
think that hold is just going to be slightly better. I think Boogeyman will be able to edge out Guardians for number four, and then Guardians number five, and yeah, Fast X drops right out.
Interesting. I
Love
mean,
it.
Brett and Jesse of the New Flesh, they would love that prediction that Boogeyman's going to hang in there.
So what I am seeing here with the release schedule of Transformers: Rise of the Beast is they're really trying to pad these numbers because looks like Wednesday previews are starting at 7 p.m. and then Thursdays showings are starting at 3 p.m. So
Oh,
they are going
wow.
to try to pad these numbers out.
So it's basically a 5-day weekend. They're doing the Wednesday opening and
Yeah,
trying
yeah.
to get that into a 3-day number.
Yeah, yeah. Basically, so
Wow.
it's
Wow.
yeah, so it's some horseshit because they know this thing is they know this thing's in trouble, right?
Yeah, yeah.
That does not change my belief in that movie coming in at number 2. Number 1, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. I agree with Christopher here. I think this drops in the 40s because I
Wow.
just think so many people are going to want to see
Wow.
this movie. So that would leave it at what, like about 58, maybe something like that.
Well,
Well,
50% would be
60,
60
it'd be like
million. Yeah.
60,
yeah.
60, yeah, 61, 62. I think that's going to be where it's at. Transformers Rise of the Beast. I'm going to go like 48 because of the Wednesday, Thursday BS
Mm,
that they're pulling. I think it's going to be a
mhm.
little bit higher, and only because they're padding. And we will make sure that we let everybody know that they padded.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Those numbers are fake.
Yeah. Expose the
So
padding.
expose the padding, hashtag expose the padding. Christopher,
Mhm.
remember that when we,
Yep.
when you pull this clip.
Mhm.
Little Mermaid, I think slam doink, obviously, number 3. This is going to still play well to the young ladies, the young ladies.
Mhm.
And I think it's about the same as everybody's saying. It's going to be about like 26, 25, something like that. Here's the big one. You know, when you look at what's above it, Guardians, I mean, Transformers and Spider-Man, that is so much the same audience.
Mm.
That, I'm going to go with Christopher here, and I'm going to say the Boogeyman does it just
Wow.
because it is
Okay.
counter programming. Now, Guardians is so beloved, but so is Spider-Man. So I do think that there's going to be some cannibalizing there. So I do agree, Boogeyman, but then I do think Guardians is going to round out the top 5 here.
Yep. So it is really something that none of us hesitated to put the opening weekend of this Transformers movie at number 2.
Mhm.
Again, there is no way that Paramount, even a month ago, even 2 weeks ago, thought that their Transformers movie would not at least open number 1 for the weekend.
Yeah.
And here we are just predicting it as a slam doink that
Well,
it will
Pat,
not finish number
because
1.
think about it. The first movie opened to 35, right? So if it opened to twice what it made the first time opening, that's 70, right? And
Mhm.
that would have been crazy in their mind. And then say it has a 50% drop. That's 35, right?
Right,
So they're
right.
like,
Yeah.
even if we do poorly, even if we go 40, 45, we're beating this movie. Well, guess what? You're not.
Right? They're not. It's
Yeah.
it's going to be a very, and listen, Paramount the last couple of years, the post-pandemic years, Paramount seems like it's had the golden spoon up its ass.
Mhm.
Every
Yeah.
decision they've made seems to have been right. Big blockbuster Sonic movies and Maverick and putting Smile
Yeah.
in theaters and so on and
Yep.
so forth. But this Transformers movie looks like, I mean, listen, we'll see what the numbers bear out, but it does not feel like this is going to be the start of a reboot of this franchise. It's
But
not feeling
in
that. But
Paramount's
we'll see.
defense,
We'll see.
it is an IP
Yeah,
that you can't have on the shelf. It's a valuable IP. So
they had
they're
to
gonna
do it. Yeah.
they had to do
Yeah.
it. Now, if this fails and they try it again, then that's fool me once, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right?
Right, right,
Then they have an issue there.
right.
But I
But
think
listen,
you
as
have to.
wannabe intern Christopher announced on the show, they're doing the Transformers cartoon theatrical movie. So
Yep.
Yeah.
So we will see this. They got to try with this franchise because Paramount doesn't own Marvel. They don't own the Harry Potter world. They've got to really keep trying with these Hasbro IPs that they do own the rights to. So
Mhm.
I do want to ask wannabe intern Christopher about a movie that's opening in a couple of weeks because
Mhm.
I feel like we got to get the college pulse of this movie. The return of the hard R sex comedy, No Hard Feelings, Jennifer Lawrence. Again, it's a sex comedy, something we used to get all the time back in the 90s and the 2000s. Your Something About Marys and your Wildcats and your Hangovers and so on and so forth. Those are the big three, of course. And Eurotrip,
Mhm.
Sex Drive. That it
Mhm.
was just a staple of movie theaters was the hard R sex comedy, and it's making the comeback. So wannabe intern Christopher, those last couple of weeks on campus
Mhm.
were your fellow frat guys and girls and people,
People.
were they buzzing about Jennifer Lawrence in a sex comedy coming out in theaters this summer? Do you feel the campus buzz for this?
No, that is actually there is a comedy this summer that people were buzzing about, but it's not that. People are buzzing about Strays.
Yeah.
I've seen that played in movie theaters plenty of times. Every time it does amazing. And when I've gone to theaters with my friends, they have turned over to me after the trailers and said, I want to see this. I've been seeing that
Wow.
played before plenty of movies, and I've barely seen no hard feeling trailers played. So I think Strays is going to be the comedy hit of the summer. Not no hard feelings, and definitely not
Wow.
Joyride. Yep.
Wow. Have you been in a theater where they have played the No Hard Feelings trailer and your college friends just did not care, did not respond at all?
I don't think I've seen any with them, but I know the theaters I've been in, the reaction's been good, but nowhere near as good as Strays. I think Strays is
Wow.
going to be the hit of the comedy hit.
Wow. So when Jennifer Lawrence in the trailer says I'm going to date him hard, that
Mhm.
hasn't been like a catchphrase that's caught on college. You haven't, guy go out or college friends go out on a date and you asked him how's it going to go tonight and she's like, "Oh, I'm going to date him. I'm going to date him hard." That hasn't happened. That catchphrase
No.
hasn't caught on.
Yeah. Not yet, sadly.
Wow. Wow.
Mhm.
I think
Interesting.
Strays has done a great job of promoting. I know Strays was. I saw a lot of commercials for Strays during. I think the NBA playoffs.
Yeah,
Uh,
NBA, they've had a really huge presence during these sports.
and that's one of those movies. It doesn't come out till August, but it's out there, and that is what you need to
Right.
do to really sell a comedy. Yeah, No Hard Feelings is gonna be really interesting. What do you
Well,
have any sort of, Christopher, do you have any sort of personal, like, internet history with Jennifer Lopez? Not Jennifer Lopez, Jennifer Lawrence?
Yeah, everyone, all my friends and stuff, we all grew up watching those Hunger Game movies and stuff. So
Okay.
everyone for a period there was definitely a huge Jennifer Lawrence fan, and everyone
mhm,
still at least likes it. Like if people are probably more inclined to see that movie because she's in it than if it
Yeah,
was some other girl for sure.
yeah.
got it.
Okay,
It's
so that's something. She is a star. She
Yeah,
is somebody that you'd be like,
yeah.
I would date her." Like, this situation, if this happened to me, would be awesome.
Yes, 100%.
Okay,
People
okay.
in my generation would definitely date her hard, for sure.
There we go.
so
That's
that's
Yeah.
something.
big. That's big.
Yeah.
She's got that star power. She's got that date power.
Mhm.
Um, with Strays, the reasoning I've heard that they push it to August is partially because of the writer's strike and that there's won't be talk shows to promote the movie on. And for a comedy, that is a big thing. You want to get your stars out there on these late night shows talking about it, which
That's
that could be a
smart.
problem,
Yeah.
but it could be a problem for No Hard Feelings because
Yeah.
who is better on a talk show? Who is more charming
Ah.
than Jennifer Lawrence? And if you don't have her out there flirting with Letterman, flirting with Johnny Carson, who I don't know if they're still the host right now, but either way, their shows are on strike. And if
Yeah.
you don't have Jennifer Lawrence flirting with these late night hosts and being charming, that's a big promotional arm that you don't get right now. So that could affect No Hard Feelings. We will
She'd be great
see
on
in a
Craig
few weeks.
Ferguson.
Right, right. Your Craig Fergusons, your Regis Philbins, and so on.
Yeah.
Get her on Larry King. Right now you can't have that because the writer's strike, but she would be
Mhm.
great on
Mhm.
Larry King. So good to get that intel that Strays might actually be the
Yeah.
big college breakout hit of the summer. So before we go, want to be intern Christopher, anything else that you want to let us know about your outlook on the summer from the perspective of the college guy, and anything that you think we should know as we head into the summer?
I think Mission Impossible is gonna get a huge Top Gun Maverick bump. Everyone I know loved that movie. No one said a bad thing about it, and everyone sees Tom Cruise doing these crazy stunts again. I think that'll be a huge movie. Um, The Flash is going to be mixed. Not a lot of my friends are excited to see that, so that one could be very interesting. Looking past the summer, the Marvels, none of my friends are interested in that. Everyone seems to be off the MCU train,
Hmm.
so that one's going to be rough, especially coming from a movie that did $1.1 billion in the lead up to Endgame, now doing who knows what. And then I am on your side, Pat. I think the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movie could be a sneaky big hit at the end of summer.
Thank
But
you.
yeah,
Thank
that's
you.
my outlook on the rest. Oh, and Joyride, that comedy that's sneaking in the first weekend of July. I think that comedy is going to do even worse than New Hard Feelings. I think that's just going to get lost in the shuffle.
Okay.
Wow. Wow. And last one I'll throw out here. Quick hit. Barbie versus
Uh,
Oppenheimer.
you can't
Barbie
quick
Hunt
hit
Barbie.
Barbie.
It's Barbie. I think a 3 hour. I know it's Christopher Nolan, but his name can only do so much nowadays. That is a 3 hour, sometimes black and white, adult oriented drama picture that is not even going to have all the IMAX screens because it's sharing it with Barbie. Tom Cruise is going around calling theaters up saying I want more IMAXs for
Yeah, that's
Mission
great.
Impossible
He's so
second
great.
weekend. So
Yeah.
I really do think Oppenheimer is going to be a bigger bomb than people are expecting it to be.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So here's the
Yes.
thing, and it's so fucking late. We got to go. But my argument and the argument you're going to hear on this podcast coming forward,
Mm-hmm.
Ad nauseum.
I don't think Oppenheimer is going to be a hit either. That's not my
Yep.
argument.
Okay.
My argument isn't it's Oppenheimer over Barbie. I think they're both going to do poorly. That is my take, right? And I agree with you. And I know that sometimes black and white. He came out and he said, it's only a little bit, guys. It's only a little
Yeah.
bit." So
Yeah.
he's
Yeah.
even
Yeah. What
panicking a
people?
little bit
Yeah.
He's panicking.
about
He's gonna
panicking.
colorize those black and white scenes. He's gonna call up Ted Turner. Could you get me
Mhm.
the colorization technology that you used on Wizard of Oz in the 80s and 90s?
Yeah,
He's gonna
and
colorize those black and white scenes in Oppenheimer.
yeah.
Watch. Mark my words.
Yes, so I think that but this is an argument for another time, and believe me, there's going to be an argument
Mm-hmm.
here.
Yeah. All right, guys. So great episode. We love getting the perspective of the college set. And again, thank you, wannabe O intern Christopher, for all the awesome work you've been doing. And you know what? We're making the decision here. The internship continues.
Oh,
The
Yeah.
thank
internship
God.
continues.
Thank
Oh
You have
yeah.
God.
not lost your internship.
Okay.
So
Good.
all of
I'm
the
glad.
other applicants apply again later in the future because the position's not open right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's hard to beat the incumbent. It's hard to beat the
It
incumbent.
is. Yeah. You don't switch a horse midstream
Yep.
is what
Yep.
we always say. So we won't do it. So of course, email us theboboyspodcast at gmail.com. We love getting your emails. We love getting your predictions. We got some emails that we'll talk about on Monday with some predictions for this movie, and we'll see how they pan out. So email us theboboyspodcast at gmail.com. Of course, follow us on YouTube. We are YouTubers. So down there, smash that like button, smash that subscribe button. So you're watching this video on YouTube, and coming very soon on this channel will be BO Boys Court, conceived by, edited by, co-starring wannabe O intern Christopher. So that is a huge episode
Yep.
coming exclusively to the YouTube channel. So find out just what that is by watching it on our YouTube channel. Of course, give us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts. Leave us a review. 5 stars, help spread the word. Of course, if you happen to have a large podcast or platform of your own, talk about the BO Boys. It helps get new listeners, and we appreciate that. And of course, follow us on social media, specifically right now on Twitter at the BO Boys Pod. Wannabe O intern Christopher killing it with the clips, and he's keeping it fair and balanced, making Clayton look good, making Pat look good, making us both think that he is on our side. So great job out of wannabe O intern Christopher there. Follow us at the BO Boys Pod. And I think we've done it. I think that's it.
Yeah, one quick thing because we have to shout out one BO boy Austin who always sends us great emails. Going with
Mhm.
Spider-Verse 58 million at number 1, number 2 Transformers 50 million. So
Yeah.
here we go. That
Yeah.
that is I think that he is also a young man. He's also in that prime demo. So everybody's going Spider-Verse.
Yeah. Yeah. Everyone
Good.
is going Spider-Verse. We have, of course, Danny predicted this weekend that Transformers will make $50 million. So he's going over 50 on it. Doesn't look like he's putting it over Spider-Man, but he's going higher than we're giving this Transformers movie credit for. So let's see if Danny's prediction pans out.
All
So
right.
yeah, I think that's it.
All right. I think we did it. I think there's nothing left to say,
Yeah.
actually.
Mhm.
Oh, except for until next time.
Will
Will
smell
smell
you
you
at
at
the
the box
Box
office.
office. Nailed it.
Nailed it.
Nailed it.